All right, well, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of What's Up Wednesday. I'm Terry Robbins with Disability Network of Mid-Michigan, and today is Veterans Day. So we want to spend a little bit of time talking about veterans, some of the experiences that they have with disability, and also where you can get some services and support, not only from the VA, but also right here at Disability Network. I've got some information I'm going to share with you today. And we do have some information from the VA, but I wanted to share some statistics as well about the prevalence of particularly disability with our veterans. So as you can see on the screen, we do have a little over 17 million veterans in the US. We have about 9 million that are served every year just by the VA alone. That's every single year. It's not some of the people receive services more than 1 year at a time, but a couple of these are new veterans who are seeking services after a condition has exacerbated or they've developed a new disability over time. Sometimes it's directly service related, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means. There are over 1,000 outpatient sites across the United States that serve veterans and 170 VA medical centers. So there's an opportunity for folks to access care. If you need help finding a location or even seeing what services you're eligible for, we can help you do that, or you can call the VA directly. Some centers are closer to you than others, and so a lot of folks do benefit from those outpatient services rather than trying to find a VA medical center if there's one that's not very close in the vicinity. For service-connected disabilities, you'll hear that a lot. And that really looks at a disease or injury that's determined to have occurred or been aggravated by military service. The disability is usually evaluated right by the VA. They have what they call a schedule for rating disabilities, and there's some rules and regulations about how they measure that. Extent of a disability, once it is measured, is expressed in the form of a percentage. And so if you have, for example, a 0% disability, that would be, there might be a condition that exists, but it's not preventing you or limiting function to the what they would consider a compensable degree. But if it is, then they go up in increments of 10. So it'd be 10%, 20%, all the way up to 100% disability rating. And that disability rating becomes important because it helps determine not only what services you might be eligible for, but if there is additional compensation, that number goes up in relation to that percentage. You can see on the chart on the screen, the United States average of percentage of disability compared to the number in Michigan. So in the United States, about 28% of non-institutionalized veterans of working age, and that's what we would consider age 21 to 64, have a service-related disability. In Michigan, that number is considerably lower. It's only a little over 20% in Michigan. So one out of 5 of our vets in Michigan has a service-connected disability. When we talk about disabilities, oftentimes with our veterans, people tend to think about PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder as a common disability. And indeed it is. I want to talk just a little bit about the prevalence of that. So PTSD is a mental health condition that some people develop after they've experienced or witnessed a life-threatening event. That could be from combat, as is the case with our veterans. It could be a natural disaster, some kind of accident, a vehicle accident, for example, or even sexual assault. So anyone can develop PTSD at any age. I think our veterans experience that at a higher rate. I believe our next highest group of folks folks experiencing PTSD are actually our older adults. And sometimes that's due to just experiencing life events. We see that sometimes from isolation, and unfortunately nowadays even from abuse. So what happens after a traumatic event is also really very important. So how an individual manages a stressful situation and the kind of support that they have really kind of helps determine the impact of PTSD. In our veterans, we've seen different experiences with PTSD based on not only the kind of job that they have, but their age, the war that they were fighting in, the enemy that they were battling against. And so we have a higher rate of PTSD, for example, from folks from the Vietnam War than we do from the Gulf or Iraqi freedom, for example. We have about 30% of our Vietnam vets at some point in time will experience PTSD, which is a pretty high percentage. Other factors, as I mentioned, that can add more stress to an already stressful situation. If there are underlying mental health factors already, the politics, what's going on in the world, all kinds of things to consider that can impact that. Currently, we have about 8 million people in the United States that experience post-traumatic stress disorder. Another cause of PTSD in the military can be military sexual trauma. And that's any sexual harassment or sexual assault that occurs while you're in the military. It can happen to both men and women and can occur during peacetime, during training, or actually during more active service. Among veterans who use VA healthcare, about 23% of women reported sexual assault when in the military. About 55% of women and 38% of men have also experienced sexual harassment. One of the other things you might not be aware of is that there are more male veterans than female veterans. That shouldn't be a surprise, but even though military sexual trauma is more common in women veterans, over half of the veterans with military sexual trauma are men. So we, again, think about PTSD as a common condition that veterans might experience. But on the screen are our top 10 most common disabilities in veterans. And you can see number one is tinnitus. And so that's the ringing in the ears. And that can be from repetitive loud noises. It could be gunfire, machinery, the sound of vehicles, of other equipment, and combat-related noise. In addition, many veterans cope with traumatic brain injuries, and because of that internal injury, often tinnitus can develop. Bilateral hearing loss is also something that's experienced, and many individuals have that lifelong where they're going to be hearing then muffled speech, having difficulty determining what certain sounds are, particularly from a distance. They might ask others to speak more slowly or more clearly. Sometimes volume helps, but not always. Increasing volume might help. But you might see folks withdrawing from crowds or avoiding social experiences, and it's simply because they're not able to hear what's going on, and that can make social settings difficult. We talked about PTSD already. Number 4 is scars are also one of the more common. This was interesting because you might think about that as a gunshot or some kind of other injury, but more often it's scars resulting from a surgery that was necessary because of an injury that someone experienced. We see lots of limitations in knee flexion and inability to move around as to the degree that individuals used to be able to do that. Same with back conditions. Unfortunately, back conditions are pretty common among veterans, and lumbar and cervical strains are the most common that we see. In the same vein, that paralysis of the sciatic nerve can occur. Again, that's most often due to injury. That tends to happen on one side of the body. There'll be an injury in the lower back. That's where that sciatic nerve is. And it will usually impact one side, one leg or the other. When that sciatic nerve is pinched, it's kind of like a herniated disc then pushes on that nerve, and that can actually be quite painful. Can be tingling or burning, and again, a lack of, can reduce mobility because of that, because of the muscle weakness and pain that can be associated with that. Many of our vets experience ongoing ankle injuries, and over time that results in limited motion. You could think about all the running and all the exercise and all the moving around and carrying of equipment that can really cause damage over time. Many of our vets experience migraines, and if you've ever had one, you know that can truly be a debilitating experience. So might be unable to function for a period of hours or even days. There's sometimes changes in vision, nausea, fatigue that can come with migraines. And so that does limit somebody's ability sometimes to even go back to work or participate in community life. And then the final most common VA disability is degenerative arthritis of the spine. And as you can imagine, that those joints begin to erode over time, and that can limit mobility as well. So lots of things that are different things that our veterans might be experiencing. I wanted to give just a quick overview of some of the benefits that are available to folks, to our vets in service. This is just a real quick video for you. Get to my controls here.
The VA is wide-reaching. It's not just the veterans themselves. It's their families, children, anybody who was affected by their service.
It's really easy. People think it's hard to use the GI Bill in school, and it's not.
It's an earned benefit. That means because of your honorable service, you're eligible to be buried in one of the 131 national cemeteries that we have here in the United States, Puerto Rico, and in Hawaii.
I feel life insurance is one of the most important financial tools you can have.
Most loans require you to put a certain percentage down. Because of my service, that was my down payment.
Vocational rehabilitation is a program for veterans who have a certain percentage disability, and it's to train you to go back to work.
My dad is a recipient of a VA pension benefit to help with his health needs.
They helped me fill out the paperwork to get Service-Connected, and once I got Service-Connected, then my care is free.
The VA and the VA hospital system are among some of the best in the world.
Honestly, the VA saved my life, and they care.
So they listed quite a few different benefits there, particularly in regard to financial support, whether it was for education, healthcare, a home loan, and you can go right to va.gov or to one of your local centers to determine eligibility and to apply for services. I mentioned at the beginning that there were a number of outpatient clinics and medical centers across the country, and some of the more common programs that they offer at those clinics and healthcare centers are listed on the screen. So you can get medical and healthcare, mental health support. They have a program for PTSD, suicide prevention and crisis intervention. You can access some faith support through their chaplain services, have some discussion about the benefits that you do receive and how you might best utilize those with the benefits administration program. There are vet centers and outpatient clinics scattered all over. And at the vet centers, you can get a lot of different community-based counseling and access to a wide range of social and psychological supports. Professional readjustment counseling to eligible veterans, active duty service members, that includes National Guard and the Reserve, as well as your families can access counseling support at those vet centers. There are also substance use disorder programs and just a variety of supports for people who are trying to readjust to community life. They mentioned rehabilitation services as well. So if you're interested in civilian employment, there's support for that. But a lot of times people just need assistance sort of acclimating to a social environment and community life again. I mentioned that vocational rehab and employment services access to benefit information. You can see if you're eligible for disability compensation. They will do an examination and help to determine what that percentage is. In the video, they talked a little bit about the pension and the GI Bill. There's a program for veteran success. And again, that's making sure that you can access the life that you want, particularly for folks who have been in military service for some time. That adjustment can be difficult or can take a longer period of time than you might expect, and there's support to help you do that. There are supports for family members to access educational supports as well, and so you might be interested in that. There are survivor benefits and funeral supports once a veteran does pass, and again, access to home loans, life insurance, traumatic injury insurance, anything that can help treat illnesses or injuries that prevents future health problems, so some preventative services, improve your ability to function, enhance your quality of life. All veterans receive coverage for most care and services, but only some will qualify for additional benefits like dental care. And so it's important that you apply to see what you're eligible for. There are a number of things that eligibility is determined on, and that could be your priority group, advice from your VA primary care provider, and any medical standards for treating any health conditions that you have. And so your doctor may suggest other services that you might not have thought of. So it's important to have that conversation with them. I wanted to highlight a couple of other programs, particularly since we're focusing on disability, because that's what we do, to talk a little bit about what the VA disability compensation program looks like, as well as just a brief success story of someone with some pretty significant disabilities that he experienced in combat.
Did you know many veterans qualify for tax-free disability compensation? Did you know you may receive higher payments if you have a dependent spouse, children, or parents? Did you know your disability rating may open the door to other VA benefits? Live life after service to the fullest with benefits you may have earned for your service and sacrifice. If your disability was caused by or aggravated during active military service, no matter when or where you served, you may be eligible for VA benefits that can enhance your independence and help you care for your family. Compensation amounts vary. 0% is for disabilities that are service-connected but are not severe enough to warrant compensation. If your disability evaluation is less than 100%, but your service-connected disabilities prevent gainful employment, then you may be entitled to compensation at the 100% level. If your disability limits your mobility, you may qualify for a payment to buy or modify a vehicle to get around easier. As a service-disabled veteran, you may be entitled to free health care, employment counseling, and other benefits. To start your claim process, go online Visit a VA regional office or talk to an accredited VA representative. The fastest way to receive a claim decision is to file an e-claim at va.gov. You've served with honor. Now let VA serve you. Explore VA today.
So as you can see, there are a variety of levels at which compensation might be provided. As I mentioned, you can go to va.gov or right to your local center to apply and see what you're eligible for. If you need help walking through that process at Disability Network, we can help you do that.
My name's Dave Riley. I was a rescue swimmer 17 years, Coast Guard, until I became disabled due to a bacterial infection. It went in through my sinuses and got into my bloodstream, turned me septic. I went into septic shock. I felt like I was going to die. From there, I was in the hospital 3 months. And, before I woke up out of the coma, they had already removed my limbs. I woke up like this. They didn't have a lot of quad amputees out there, and there was a lot of really, really bad days, but really worse nights, you know, and wondering what I was going to do and how I was going to support my family and how I was going to continue in life, you know. Just had all these questions. And the first was the DAV coming in and telling me about what benefits I had as a disabled vet. You know, I would have college and I would be on disability and get benefits from the VA, and, you know, I wouldn't have to worry about it. It really eased a lot of my fears. What helped me was just the realization that I could do whatever I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I may have some limitations, but they're just self-imposed. If I was to work hard enough, I found that just about anything I could do. One, it's an adventure out there, you know, get going out there and see what you can do. And that's what I do now.
So I really like highlighting some of the successes that we've seen from veterans, particularly in our service area. I think when you have an opportunity to get support to reacclimate to community life and to decide if employment's going to be right for you, there is support available to you to get your life back or to rebuild your life. So the Disabled American Veterans is an association that focuses obviously on veterans with disabilities. We've already talked about some of the services and supports that you can access from the VA. And there are also some supports that if you're not eligible for, or if you're a veteran that doesn't have a disability, you still might need some supports in accessing resources. And so there are services out there that can help you get what you need. At Disability Network, we do offer a variety of supports to individuals and can offer information regarding a number of things to support you in community. So if you are experiencing discrimination because of a disability, or if you need additional access due to limited mobility, that's one of the things that we work with our communities on, is enhancing inclusion and accessibility. So you can call us for that kind of support. We also have a really strong peer support and mentoring program. So if you'd like to talk to someone else with a disability, we can connect you. You can work one-on-one with a trained mentor, or we have some groups of individuals who like to get together and sometimes just talk, sometimes do some fun things in a safe and welcoming environment. And so feel free to connect with those groups as well. Currently, we're having a lot of virtual opportunities. And so that might be something that's an easy way for you to kind of investigate a little bit what you might have the most interest in. Our information and referral department, really any question, any time, any age, any disability. If you're looking for a resource, we've got, we collaborate with partners all through a 12-county region in Central Michigan. And so we try to keep up to date on what resources are available to folks. And if for some reason there's a unique request or something that we haven't thought of, folks in that department will really help you go find it. We also have a community transition program where we help people, again, reacclimate to independent living and community life. We have a nursing facility diversion program there as well. So if your health conditions do begin to progress to a point where you think you might need nursing facility support, not everybody wants that. And so we might be able to find resources to help you stay at home. And then our skill development program, we work with folks to learn or relearn independent living skills, particularly if somebody's acquired a disability over time and might need to learn how to do something in a new or different way. We have some unique services as well that we can tailor to meet the needs of a community or for you. And so when folks walk in our door, that's where we start, is what do you want? How can we support you? And then we build up services from there. So even if you don't see something on our website or in our brochure and you've got an idea about something that you think might help, feel free to ask. A couple of the things that we are asked to support individuals or families with frequently, particularly in regard to community services or health services, are support with Medicaid and Medicare, whether it's choosing a plan or applying or completing redetermination paperwork, we can help with that. Social Security is also something that we discuss, and we can talk about how your veterans benefits might be impacted or how they complement each other in that program. We assist individuals to apply and appeal Social Security as well. So if you have that need, or if you're looking at going back to work and are wondering how that might impact your benefits, we can provide some support to help sort that out. We also have a lot of assistive technology items, so adaptive equipment or tools that can help you maintain or even increase your independence. We find a lot of times people want to continue to do things for themselves as long as they can. And sometimes a simple piece of equipment can really go a long way. And so we'll help you not only find something that might work for you, but often even have access to some supports to help pay for that. So feel free to give us a call. It might be something to support mobility. It might be cooking. It might be personal care or communication. We have access to a whole network of information and devices, and we'll help you find what you need. We also support individuals in accessing housing supports. We don't have funds to support rent, for example, but we know in our community who does. It might be you're interested in a home assessment to increase accessibility, or are just looking for a different living environment, and we can help find those things for you too. And then I talked a little bit about our nursing facility diversion program already. And so if you or a loved one needs support to access community living instead of nursing facility care, absolutely give us a call. And then lastly, I wanted to just take a quick opportunity to share a video with you that honors our veterans. It is Veterans Day, and we truly value the service that folks have offered in order to protect our freedoms. So I'm going to share this 2020 video with you.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear. To support and defend. The Constitution of the United States. Against all enemies. Foreign and domestic. And to bear true faith. And allegiance to the same. That I will obey. The orders of. The President of the United States. And the orders of. Those officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God.
We celebrate Veterans Day on the anniversary of the armistice that ended World War I. The armistice that began on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The timing of this holiday is quite deliberate in terms of historical fact. But somehow it always seems quite fitting to me that this day comes deep in autumn, when the colors are muted and the days seem to invite contemplation. It is, in a way, an odd thing to honor those who died in defense of our country, in defense of us, in wars far away. The imagination plays a trick. We see these soldiers in our mind as old and wise, but most of them were boys when they died, and they gave up two lives, the one they were living and the one they would have lived. When they died, they gave up their chance to be husbands and fathers and grandfathers. They gave up their chance to be revered old men. They gave up everything for our country, for us. And all we can do is remember. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. In memory of those who gave the last full measure of devotion, may our efforts to achieve lasting peace gain strength. Let us make a vow to our dead. Let us show them by our actions that we understand what they died for. Strengthened by their courage, heartened by their value, and borne by their memory, let us continue to stand for the ideals for which they lived and died.
In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
But we hope the information that we've shared with you today is helpful in supporting you in your life. Whether you are a veteran with or without a disability, on behalf of Disability Network, thank you for your service.